I mean, we could still keep talking. I'm like realizing, I'm like, man, we just talked about the Raptors with like such passion,
I know.
and none of that was recorded. So
Also, I was just so happy to see you that I'm like, wait, I guess it's what we like. If we both did a show, we'd be outside of the show having this exact conversation.
yeah. It's like, and cut. And then we're just like, yeah, just keep going. Yeah, it's just really good. Like, you guys got to leave the set. You don't understand. It's done.
Freddie, Allen, you guys need some water. You're dehydrated.
What? What are you talking about? Just want to keep talking about these raps. Omar Cook's been great. I don't know why I said Omar Cook. Actually, that's going to lead into one of the things. But first off, I just want to say thank you so much to my first guest of the show, Freddie Rivas. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to support you in all your ventures because you're amazing. And this is going to be a good time.
Yeah, and no, you're amazing. For those who don't know, you for sure do if you know me. Freddie is the host of the Confederacy of Dunks podcast. You can check that out on Rappers Republic. I've been a guest on that podcast for years. I remember the first time I was on it, I was so excited. I took a picture and everything. I tagged everybody. I was like, yo, this is so dope. You guys had a really amazing setup. And I just thank you so much for bringing me into that world and sharing a seat and a conversation with me.
Oh man, anytime. Like I've always felt lucky to have you, and you're that perfect blend. The show is comedy, and analysis, and you're, one of very few people who right off the bat was sort of like, oh, I do both. And I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And that's not to criticize anyone else, but like,
no, you can criticize them. Criticize them.
Yeah, I should say, like, if anyone else is from the show is checking this out, I do have a priority ranking, and it's pretty judgmental.
But one thing, we were talking before about just our relationship to the Raptors, and we realized that we've been brought in kind of young. We've been indoctrinated, drinking the Raptors Kool-Aid. So no one else that I want to talk to about the upcoming Raptors season. So first off, after seeing what happened last year and kind of losing in the playoffs actually losing to the playoffs to the Philadelphia 76ers, what would you give a letter grade for last season for the Raptors?
That's a really good question. I would say, putting on the context of like what was expected of us, I'd probably say like an A minus.
Okay.
I think that we almost, overachieved in so many ways. We surprised the league. I guess like an A plus. You can only give an A plus if the team like wins the championship. I get that we lost in the first round, but there's so many different things that went well that I feel like if you're kind of taking like a outside view of what the Raptors did and where we're going, the grade has to be really high.
Yeah. And I agree. I think happiness is the expectation versus reality, that kind of mathematical equation. And what we were expected and how far we got is great. And also, not to quote the movie 300, but we made God bleed. We took Joel Embiid to 6 games.
Please quote the movie 300 more. I want to hear your Xerxes voice.
I don't know.
I can't even either.
I can't remember.
It just sounds like that sounds like a subsonic sound. Like anyways,
like 2 voices at the same time. It was like up here. So
I don't know.
I feel like that was like Andy Serkis or something, or the same guy who did the Bane voice or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Precious Achua.
Okay, this is good.
But I think you're right. It was what we were expected, and as Raptor fans, we're always written off in all the NBA preview shows, why a lot of times you shouldn't watch them, except for this one. But it was good to see the team come together and face adversity, and going forward, I'm excited for them. Are you excited for them?
Oh man, I'm beyond excited. I think this year, the expectations have kind of caught up. Like the Raptors are a very buzzy team, and for a Raptors fan, it's almost sort of scary to hear all these different analysts predict the Raptors to have a good season or to smash the over or all that kind of stuff. But it's warranted. I think that I've been saying pretty much all offseason that this team is giving me major bench mob vibes.
Yes.
So the year before the Raptors won the championship, we won 59 games. LeBronto, let's not go there for now. Painful times. But we trucked the regular season, and I don't quite think we are that level. But if you look at, what Masai's done in his career, he's just incredible at amassing talent, whether it's with Denver, the Raptors, and we're at that point. Our training camp was extremely competitive. There's guys like Utah who fairly easily made the Brooklyn roster, who wasn't even in consideration for this Raptors roster. So yeah, I'm super excited. I think that the playoffs will be a completely different story, but we're funky. We're super deep. We have, incredible young talents, and even our guys that are like quote unquote older are very much still in their primes. So it's going to be a good year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm happy for Utah. I'm kind of sad he's not on the team. And yeah, I do kind of get those bench mob vibes, those early years of seeing like Jakob and Fred and Pascal kind of gel together and really kind of solidifying themselves to become leaders eventually in the future. Then from last year, we're not perfect, but what do you think the Raptors needed to address from last year? And did they?
Yeah, that's tougher because I feel like we needed to address, I guess a couple things. There's the whole where you fall as far as this Vision 6-9 thing. Do you think it's an end goal, like Masai and Bobby and Nurse want to win a championship without a center, or do you think it's sort of like we're getting these tall swingmen that are multi-talented so that we can trade in the future? You saw all summer with the KD stuff. Pretty quickly it emerged as a narrative that, wait a second, the Raptors are the team you want to trade with if you want a bunch of good players. Like, we're the number one team if you want to make that move. It didn't happen, but I think it's sort of underlying this idea that we have a lot of redundancy, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right?
I agree.
Golden State has a bunch of redundancy in that every single person can shoot on the team. So
it's a good redundancy.
Yeah, it's good redundancy, right?
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and I think the Raptors are kind of in that direction where, this is Spider-Man meme where it's like everyone's pointing at each other, and it's kind of like, can you run the break and defend and dunk on somebody's head? Yes. Whoops, I hit my table.
That's how emphatic that point was. I love that.
Here. But yeah, so I think back to your question, yes, we got Koloko. I don't think that was like something we really needed to address in a major way. Yes, we had Embiid, made us look bad in certain ways, but I don't think you can plan your team around for Embiid and Jokic. And I don't think that there's a lot of other big centers that are going to punish you as much.
Yeah.
So I think it's shooting, and I think it's veterans. And I think we sort of addressed it. We got Otto Porter, who's
Really
a veteran. He's a shooter. That's fantastic. He's a champion. And we brought back Boucher, and we brought back Thaddeus Young. And we're also, the shooting thing's a long game, right? Because that's Nick Nurse's thing. He's a shot doctor. He brought in this like a crazy machine this year.
Oh my goodness. It's like Jarvis. It's so cool. It's very Iron Man tech. It's the future of basketball. And I like it. I welcome that.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely like it's giving me major like 2001 Space Odyssey vibes. Like is there going to be a time where it's like all the Raptors were attacked by a robot today?
Yeah, a lot of DNPs murdered by sentient robot.
Yeah. But so yeah, did we fully address the shooting? I don't think so. I think we only partially addressed the shooting, which that's sort of where I cap my optimism. Because I think when it comes to the playoffs, this idea of being like a fast break team that generates turnovers is great. But, generally you run a fast break when you're covering for a not so good offense.
Yeah.
No, that's not entirely true. But I do think that, yeah, like we need shooters to come along. We need Precious. We need Boucher. We need Thaddeus Young. We need, Banton. We need Siakam to be more efficient. And I think we're going to have some major shooting slumps this year. So I do think that we haven't fully addressed the shooting.
Yeah. All right. I know everyone loves the trade machine and loving being like Monday GMs, which to be honest, I'm okay with. My hoop dreams are done. I realize I can never make the NBA, but I can still make a front office. That dream can live on forever. So, Freddie, you are now the new president of basketball operations of the Toronto Raptors. One wave of a finger, the trade happens. No pushback from other GMs. You can fleece them all you want. Who do you bring in to this team to improve those issues that you say we haven't addressed?
Damn, that's a really good question. I mean, if it's like anyone, I'll make it sort of real.
Yeah, like Michael Jordan, and you get him when he's 26. Bring him back.
Yeah, because I think of like sort of the perfect player to attach to this team, and it's probably a guy like Jason Tatum. Okay. Which like that's just like outlandish, right? Because Boston is going to be, it's not going to happen. Yeah. But I think he can defend. He's an incredible shooter. He can create in the crunch. He fits into this team perfectly, and then would also be our best player. So I think, I mean, let's say, I don't know, you trade like OG Gary and a bunch of picks for him. Again, I know that doesn't happen. I know OG is also incredible, but I do think that this team is sort of, we're getting closer than we think to being a contender. And it's sort of just, we need more shooting and more fit. And I understand I just traded 2 shooters for 1, but it's something like that. Maybe a Bradley Beal. I am probably more high on Karl Anthony Towns than a lot of people. So let's say Minnesota goes, things fall apart. Their experiment there is a disaster. Maybe
Minnesota and things fall apart. That doesn't sound how does that happen?
Yeah, I know. Maybe, I don't know. Can we fleece Indiana? Can we get a hold of Buddy Hield or Miles Turner or something like?
I like that.
Because I do think that every single person on this team, even Gary Trent a little bit, can defend. Yeah. So we do have to start balancing it out a little bit, I think, because, if we can't score, we can't score. And I think you back to the playoffs last year. I do think we were completely injured in the playoffs, partially because we had to overplay our guys to get a lot of wins. So I'm holding out my optimism for the playoffs. I feel like if we have an incredible regular season and we're going into the playoffs healthy, then I might change my tune and that we can go further. But just totally like fantasy land, a guy like Tatum, even like less fantasy land, a guy like Middleton. I think just a dead eye shooter. That's tall.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of times the problem that we have is we just don't have the people to score sometimes at the right time, because you can score all game long and you can be insequential points because we're on a run already and you're kind of just helping it. But players like Middleton and Tatum, those are the type of guys that like are responsive to the energy of the game and the flow of it and be like, oh, you hit a 3? Well, guess what? Here's a dagger back and I've just take away all your momentum. And I like those picks that you put forward. So we're talking about earlier, you have season tickets to the Raptors. I know you and your brothers kind of divvied up. Do you do a draft? I love that. That's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, that's our Christmas. It's tonight, actually. The 18th. We're doing our our ticket draft.
What pick are you?
We haven't drawn from the hat yet, but I sort of try to break it down into tiers as far as like what games do I want to go to. And we've been season seed holders since the Colangelo Bargnani year, which I think was 09.
Yeah.
So I've seen every team. I've seen. I generally, most people get to go to the games we want to go to, because, and it's also just more than me and my brothers because we split it up. I think 8 ways. So I think it's like 5 games a year, something like that. But yeah, it kind of boils down to who have you not seen, and who do you want to like, whether it's a player or whatever. So, yeah, like I'm not sure if I've seen, like, I can't remember seeing Ja. So
Okay, so you're
I
going for the
think,
Grizzlies this year.
yeah, I'd be up to, Ja would be up there. I'd love to see him.
Who else are you going to go for? Which games?
I mean, I feel like it's always dependent on what's on the board. It's I will say I'm gonna let other people go for the Lakers and LeBron. I've seen LeBron a bunch of times,
Yeah.
and I don't think this is his last year. So I'm not in the frame of like gotta see LeBron because I'm gonna try and make sure I still see him. But yeah, the Western Conference games go first, and there's not a lot of them. So I actually wouldn't mind seeing Phoenix because I think they might be a bit slept on, and that would be a really competitive, good game. And then it also turns into like, who do you not want to see? So
who's on the not want to see list? I'm interested about that.
I think probably Indiana for me.
Indiana.
I mean, it will. If that's what's like left for me, if that's my final pick, I'm happy to see any game, and that they have the most Canadians in the NBA, so that's cool.
Hey, yeah. Is it Ben Mathurin? Is out
yeah,
there?
Ben Mathurin looks nasty.
Woo!
Like,
yeah. And is it Shaden Sharp or is he on it? No, he's on the Spurs. Never mind.
Yes, yeah. Spurs. I hate to say it, but they're pretty low on the list. I think they have a Canadian guy named Primo, but like we're scraping the barrel a little bit. The Jazz, usually we want to see.
Those are the teams I have in my category called the Wembies. Those are all the teams are going for that Wembenyana award this season. So I fully agree with you there. Probably not going to want to watch those games. They're going to be like, you could have the layup if you want. It's okay. We only have these G League players on the court right now.
Yeah.
All right. So give me one Raptor, current, old, new, whatever, that you think would be the greatest guest on your pod and why.
Wow. This is a good one. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna cheat and give you two.
All right, let's go.
Just because he's like giving me major Vince Carter vibes and like sort of like he hasn't hit the point where anyone's been mean to him yet, and I'm afraid that when he does eventually slump, I'm curious about how he's gonna take it. But Scotty Barnes is so funny. I'm so much older than him that I feel like it would be hilarious. Like I'm literally 15 years older than Scotty Barnes. So
don't do the math, Freddie. Don't do the math.
It's gonna be all this like Gen Z shit. Like there's players I love more, but I'm not sure that they would be the best interview. Obviously, love Pascal, Vince. It would be. I think Kawhi would be hilarious. He would not answer me or something. I don't know. But sorry.
I know. It would be really funny to see you just trying to crack a joke, and he's just
trying to mess around with Kawhi would be, yeah,
monumental.
But my real okay, I have to choose one is Amir Johnson.
Amir Johnson. Oh, okay. I like that.
He's such a good Raptor. He's a legend. He loved Toronto. Before the rules changed back, he was the last high school player drafted to the NBA. I love Amir Johnson. He was a great Raptor, great player, fun guy.
All right, that's great that you answered that, because that also kind of leads into my last question here. And so there's that joke on Twitter that like guys can just sit around all day and just list random NBA players. Give me your most random NBA Raptor player. One that you like to just drop on people and be like, who? Get that Star-Lord who moment.
Okay, if I say Mamadou Ndiaye and you're following, then we're synced up. I might drop a Joey Graham on you. Stephen Graham. He's never a Raptor, but like some twin trivia.
His DNA was a Raptor. I feel like that technically counts, right? They got the same brain and fingerprints. I don't know how twins work.
Some Primo Brezic, some Rasha Nesterovic. There's some. I mean, also just like there's some really kind of like really cool ones that I think people forget about, like Rafer Alston.
Yeah. Skip.
Yeah, that's probably because I'm a Vince Carter era fan. So sure, I could say Zan to back. But it's like I'm just like, I'm quoting other
Yeah.
people at that point. Yeah, I'm going Mamadou Ndiaye.
Mamadou Ndiaye, cool. My favorites to do are always Omar Cook
Yes.
and Pops Mensah Bonsu. Pops Mensah Bonsu was my dude.
Yes.
I loved him in real life. I loved him in 2K. He was just a fun person to have out there on the court. And yeah, that's my favorite random Raptor.
I loved I mean, if we're just talking random guys, I loved Keon Clark too.
Yo,
he was
Clark,
so nasty.
So good. He had that one dunk where he didn't even like touch the rim. He just threw the ball in. Oh, so good.
And also like very rare for an NBA player, but he had very short arms.
Yeah. And he was left-handed.
Yeah. Keon Clark was awesome. I love Keon Clark.
Yeah. Well, Freddie, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. Let the people know where they can see you and hear the podcast.
Follow me on social media. I'm at Freddie Rivas or at Freddie Noel Rivas. You can check out my podcast on Raptors Republic. We are Confederacy of Dunks podcast at Dunks Podcast on Twitter. I also do a WNBA podcast with my buddy Cathryn Naiker. The Pickup WNBA pod. Obviously, it's the off season for the WNBA right now, but we're still going bi-weekly. But check out the pods and support Alan.
Thank you so much. Have yourself a good day.
You too, buddy.